What we have done over the last decade inside of the Circle of Champions since I started coaching, we have perfected the system. Inside of the Freedom Protocol, there's a system that we now call impossible games. See, what I also discovered was that if my goals were too small, it never inspired me to do the work. Who knows what I'm talking about? Say yes. I mean, it was like, hey, I got this goal, okay, and I don't even have to change or do anything different, and I accomplished it. Okay, that was easy. Well, cool, I'm a winner because I can accomplish goals without doing anything different. But I also discovered if I set a goal that was so big, I might get discouraged. And so over the last decade of testing, for me, it's like 3 decades worth of testing, we came up with this thing called impossible games. The whole purpose was to inspire you to become someone completely different. And the goal is only impossible. The goal is only what? Impossible unless 2 things happen. Write these 2 things down. Number 1, you transform. Like you have to transform to accomplish the impossible game. And the second thing that has to happen in order for the impossible game to become reality is that there's this thing called divine intervention. Divine intervention. There's some type of miracle from the heavens. The universe conspires. Who in here has ever read a book called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho? I love that book, right? If you haven't read it, you gotta read it. 2009, when I was broker, then a joker, I was a dude who's like watching videos and trying to figure my life out, and good old Will Smith. He's like, I love The Alchemist. You know, he talks about the universe will conspire. And I'm like, I gotta go buy the book. Like, Mom, can I borrow some money to buy a book? Yes. Buy the book, and I'm reading the book, and I'm like, I was just so hungry. And in the book, he says, the universe conspires for and on your behalf. And the way I remember it now is when you declare and commit, when you're like, I'm doing this, I am committed. So again, let me say this again. 2 things have to happen for you to achieve your impossible games. Number 1, you have to do what? Gotta transform. I mean, if I don't have to do anything different and I achieve it, that is not a goal. That is just called everyday living. But the second thing, in order to accomplish your impossible game, there's gonna be forces beyond your physical sight, prayers, meditations, manifestations, and things that will move because you commit. You commit. So let me show you what impossible games looks like. When we started this, we talked about this thing, and I'm gonna keep drawing like 20 stick figures up here. CR stands for what? Current reality. Say it. Close your eyes and say, CR stands for current reality. Inhale, release, and give me a big 2 clap. Current reality is where we started. Now we already did current reality, yes? Yeah, and you were reading that, and you got a chance to be real. Like, here's where I really am. And if you guys actually went all in and told the truth, you're like, here's where I'm at. Here's where I'm at physically. Here's where I'm at spiritually, relationally, and financially. And sometimes I loved it. I think it was Gretchen and Kendra. They're like, oh my gosh, we did this at Immersion. I was embarrassed. Ugh. Because the truth hurts. And then when you start to live in the truth, it feels good. Feels good. Okay, now, from current reality, there's this thing called impossible games. Now, before impossible games, it looks like this. We started to have our people set what we call reasonable results. Like, what's the reasonable result? You know, it's completely like, hey, this can happen with a few changes. The second level became, well, there's also a radical result. And so we got reasonable and radical, reasonable and radical, reasonable and radical. Say it one time. Say it 2 times. Now, the reasonable result is something that's like, hey, it's fairly reasonable. You know, I could probably do that with a little bit of work. The radical was like, ooh, it's kind of big, going to require, right? That might look like a 3 to 4x in the business. That might look like doing the Ironman or the marathon for a Polynesian, doing a 400-meter around the track, you know? It's like, just kidding. Like, radical is big. For the average human being, radical is like, dude, there's no freaking way. But reasonable is like, for some of our results, we're like, hey, you know what, that's good. Radical, like, boom, dude, get out of here. No way. But the one thing that inspired Setema the most, because this is just who I am, was this thing called impossible results. What do I mean by impossible results? Quite simple. Simple. Impossible was the thing that was like, there's no way. There's no way. No way. Like, it's impossible. There's no way that could happen. And let me tell you what happens and what impossible looks like. 2009, I'm trying to do this. 2010, I'm bankrupt. And I started to write Conscious Self-Creation in the top 10 every day. I'm a world-class speaker. And I'm like, man, I hope my wife don't see this. I speak on stages. Dang, this is so stupid. I'm a coach. I get paid to coach people. I change lives. And I started the process of creation. And every single day, my heart would just swell, and I would write, and I would see it, and I would say it, I would declare it. What was impossible back then has become the reality today. For some of you in here, what was impossible when you came into our world, whether it was through immersion, or the huddle, or the Circle of Champions, or launch, you're like, dude, there's no way, Setema. And then we were able to break your frame and discard old self-gravity and get you to believe again. I promise you, today we're going to set the impossible games. Now, this is why you have to be real, raw, and relevant. Impossible means, let me give you an example here, and then we're going to put you to work. This would be like you taking 5x to 10x in business. Like, it's massive. It's crazy. It's wild. Radical might look more like a 3x to 4x. And reasonable, again, just we're using business terms here, might be like, hey, man, I'm going to just maybe 50% increase or maybe even like a 75% increase. But man, that's good. I want you to dream. Now let's talk about results. Results, results, results. Say the word. Everyone yell the word out. Results. Okay. Results have 2 components. How many? Say results have 2 components. The first component is what? What do I want? What do you want? What do you want? And that includes where do you want to go? How do you want to live? What do you want to experience? How much wealth do you want to have? What type of impact and contribution you want to have? The first part of results is, what's the word? What? What do you say? What do you want? Look at someone in the eyes and say, what do you want? Look at someone else and say, what do you want? And then look at someone and say, what do you want? The second part of the results component is, let's use a different color here. Would someone like to guess what the second component is? Why does it matter? What and why? Now, I'm going to teach you this because this is what, guys, this is a system. It is a protocol that works. For those of you in the Circle of Champions who have achieved crazy, impossible types of results, please stand up. Stand up. I love it. Erickson, put your hands together. Yeah, love it. Thank you so much. See, go, you can have a seat now. If you follow the system, it works. Results are what and why. Now, when we talk about why is like you guys said. Let's change the color here. Why does it matter? And some other forms of why is what will it mean to me? What will it give me that I currently do not have? Okay, I'm writing this down and I'm kind of abbreviating. Why does it matter? What will it mean to me when I achieve this thing? What will it give me that I currently do not have, that when I get it, it's going to give me something? Another way of asking why is how will this impact the big four: physical, spiritual, relational, financial? And you have to ask why at least 5 times. Now, again, stay with me here, right? Because you're like, dude, I thought you were just going to teach us how to set goals. Well, no. I'm going to teach you how to go crush impossible games, how to produce results, how to do this thing so you can actually pull results from the future into the present with acceleration and velocity. So we talk about why times 5. Again, the yellow are different ways of asking why. So it's like this. When we talk about why times 5, it's not 5 separate whys. It's not 5 separate whys. Say it. It looks like this. So if Setema says, hey, Setema, why do you want to go make $100,000 in 20 weeks of knocking doors? Then the first why was, well, I'm sick and tired of my family being broke. Well, why does that matter to you? Number 2, I want to be the hero for my family. Well, why does that matter, right? And I just keep asking the why for that answer. Well, why does that matter? Because I have a duty and an obligation to my family. Well, why does that matter? Because I want them to look up to me, kind of like the hero one. Well, why does that matter? Because, and I could just keep going and going, and I could keep going. Now, here's what happened here. When I started to dig, right, when we talk about what is your why, the way it becomes the holy cause is you have to dig. To transform to hit something impossible would mean that you dig so deep into this holy cause, the sacred holy thing is like, I'm gonna go. Don't care how hard, don't care if we're about to go out of business, I don't care if I'm trashed and made fun of and mocked, don't care if people are like, I don't believe in you. The holy cause drives me. Why did I go knock doors? And I'll just say it, I feel sick and tired. Guys, I was so sick and tired of being on EBT, of living beneath my potential. Why did that matter? Because I knew I wanted my family to look up to me. Why did that matter? My wife deserved way more. She deserved a man like me. And my sons, I wanted them to say, Dad, I want to be like you. And as soon as we had lunch, I called my wife, Judah. I'm like, hi, love. Hey, Dad, it's Judah. I'm like, Judah, what's up? He's like, how's your event? I'm like, it's good. How's your day? It's good, but how's the event? My boys don't know what I do. They see the videos. And Judah's 10. He's like, Dad, I want to be like you. I'm like, oh, man. That's why I did what I did. I wanted my wife to look at me and say, that's my man. And I wanted my mom and dad to be like, good job, son, because I know now that I have sons and I see them succeed, I'm like, oh, man, yes. Why did all these things matter? Because I knew there was a group of people out in the world that I was called to lead and to liberate. And when you start to dig on your why, everything changes. One of my mentors said, if your why does not make you cry, it will not fly. So don't even try.
Let's go. See, it's more than the game that we changing. We don't do it for the block, do it for the name. Yeah. No, there ain't no stopping it. If you really want it, better rock with it. This is how to be a game changer. Better put your pride down, heavy, get your pen up. Wanna be the greatest, we ain't stopping till we win, yo. This is how to make it when they hating, we ain't worried what they saying. This is how to be a game changer.